Although very uncommon, there are times when an airplane must make an emergency landing. This can take place due to a threat, damage to the aircraft, oxygen failure, or a passenger having an emergency. Today, we're going to take a look at 5 scary emergency airplane landings that were caught on camera. And trust me, some of these are pretty crazy. Let's get into it. In April of 2009, a 22-year-old Florida pilot was flying a private jet from Winter Haven Municipal Airport to Lakeland Linder Regional Airport when the plane's engine cut out around 10 a.m. With a passenger aboard the 2-seater plane, Davis tried to restart the engine, but was unsuccessful. The propeller stalled and the pilot ended up landing the aircraft on a busy 3-lane street as several cars traveled by in the opposite direction. This whole incident was pretty crazy because it could have easily injured not only the pedestrians on the road, but also caused the entire plane to burst into pieces. The pilot later said, "When I landed on the street and realized I hadn't injured anybody, I was incredibly relieved. It was a feeling like no other." Carroll also stated that he had been prepared for this potential situation, so he wasn't scared in the slightest. Well, that may be an overstatement, but either way, I'm sure they're glad this ordeal is over. It was a normal day at a local soccer field in Staten Island, New York, when things took an interesting turn. Out of the blue, an aircraft made an emergency landing right on the soccer field, shocking youth soccer coaches and players who were minutes away from games. The aircraft, which was from Somerset, New Jersey, was required to land due to bad weather. The plane approached the field from the ocean and was flying very low while a Geico banner was streamed from off the back of the aircraft. Youth soccer players were instructed by the pilot to stay clear as the plane made its emergency landing on the field. Luckily, nobody was hurt in what could have been a tragic occurrence. As the plane landed, coaches, players, and parents ran to the scene and made sure everything was okay. I honestly can't imagine being in this situation, as you would never expect something like a crash landing to occur in this environment. This emergency landing, which took place more recently, features a plane landing on a busy highway in Spanaway, Washington. According to the Washington State Patrol, a single-prop KR-2 plane experienced a fuel system malfunction at around 8:20 a.m. that stalled the engine and forced the pilot to make an emergency landing. The footage, which was captured by a local state trooper, showcased the plane as it flew low to the ground over the highway before finally landing. Immediately after the trooper noticed the plane, he turned on his signals and ordered everyone to steer clear. The pilot of this private jet said he was heading home when the fuel cut off and he had to land somewhere. Obviously, he would have wanted to land anywhere but the highway, but in a circumstance like this, you really can't be picky. Luckily, nobody was hurt, and people quickly swerved out of the way as the plane touched down. What's crazy to think is that if there hadn't been a state trooper driving on the highway, this could have turned into a big wreck and taken several lives. In July of 2017, a pilot had to make a very dangerous emergency landing on Sunrise Highway in New York. According to the sources, the pilot was the only person on board, and luckily, he didn't suffer any sort of injury. The plane took off from Brookhaven Airport in Shirley and was headed to Eagles Nest Airport in West Creek, New Jersey, when it suffered some sort of mechanical failure. In a drastic situation to get to the ground, the pilot had to land in the middle of a busy highway. Obviously, this was very dangerous and could have resulted in some bad injuries. Luckily, this pilot knew what he was doing and landed without a problem. The entire ordeal was recorded via a car dashcam, which just makes the clip even more surreal. After landing, a police officer rushed to the scene to make sure everything was alright. Check it out.
That's sad.
What the is going on right now? Holy shit. Holy shit. Awesome.
In this next clip, the pilot of this private aircraft was making a local flight from Breda International Airport traveling in the direction of Holst. However, shortly after takeoff, the pilot noticed something was not right. He quickly came to the realization that his aircraft had lost engine power and that he had to quickly make an emergency landing. In a desperate attempt to land the plane, this pilot hits the runway, but the aircraft continues moving before it reaches the grass and falls into a ditch. According to the video, no major injuries were sustained. Check it out.
Holy.
Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's video about 5 emergency airplane landings caught on camera. We just made another video about crazy airplane vertical takeoffs, which will be on screen now, so be sure to check that out. With that said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.